The sky above Zifron shimmered with colors no human had ever seen before. Massive floating cities hovered among clouds of glowing gases. An alien ship zipped between them like silver fish in a glowing sea. Commander Yalin, a human, stood on the observation deck of his station, watching the bustling city below. Even after months on Zifron, the planet still amazed him. He was far from Earth, far from his family and familiar landscapes. Yet somehow, he felt alive here. The air carried a strange electric buzz, and the alien creatures of Zifron moved with a grace that made them appear almost like dancers. But Yalin wasn't here just to admire the scenery. He had a mission. Humans were ambassadors and peacekeepers in this part of the galaxy. His task was to ensure cooperation between the humans and the alien civilizations. Life on Zifron was not easy. The alien warriors took pride in strength, speed, and cunning. Many had fought in wars for their clans, and they looked at humans with a mixture of curiosity and doubt. Humans were smaller, slower, and weaker than most alien species here. They had no natural armor, no sharp claws, no psychic powers. To the aliens, humans were fragile, but Yalin had learned long ago that strength came in many forms. He had trained his body, yes, but his mind was what made him different. He could analyze, predict, and outthink his opponents. That was his advantage in so far. It had kept him safe in a world that underestimated humans. Today, Yalin wasn't thinking about training or diplomacy. Today, the station's alarms rang sharply, signaling the arrival of an unusual visitor. He turned as a massive ship descended onto the landing platform. It was sleek, silver, and shaped like a bird of prey. The alien markings glowed faintly, signaling the rank of the one who had arrived. From the ship stepped Vera, the champion of the Xylarian clan. She was tall, with powerful muscles rippling under her sleek skin. Her eyes glowed a deep amber, and her presence demanded attention. Every step she took exuded confidence. She was a warrior who had never lost a fight, or so the stories claimed. The station crew quickly gathered, whispering among themselves. "The human," someone muttered. "They say he can fight. But can he fight her?" Yalin stepped forward calmly. His uniform was plain, but it carried the authority of someone who had seen much and survived more. He met Vera's gaze directly, not flinching, not bowing, not showing the slightest hint of fear. Vera stopped a few feet away, folding her arms. "You are the human they speak of?" she asked. Her voice was firm, carrying the weight of challenge. "I have heard tales of your kind. Small, fragile, weak. Yet here you are, claiming to hold your own on Zifron." "I am Commander Yalin," he replied evenly. "I am here to maintain peace. I do not seek conflict without reason. Peace?" Vera laughed, a sharp, musical sound. "Do not speak to me of peace. I am a warrior. I seek strength, and I seek challengers. Today, I challenge you. A fight. A test of skill." The crowd gasped. In the history of Zifron, humans had rarely faced alien champions. Those who did were often crushed before they could even react. Yalin, however, did not step back. He remained still, calm, and quiet. Vera's eyes narrowed. She studied him. Most humans would have cowered, trembling under her gaze. Most humans would have tried to explain themselves, make excuses, plead for mercy. But this one, he was different. "You do not fear me?" she asked. "I respect you," Yalin said, "but I do not fear anyone." The words hung in the air, clear and steady. For a moment, Vera seemed taken aback. Then she smiled, not cruelly, but with a spark of interest. A human who was unafraid. That alone was rare. The station commander stepped forward. "Vera, these are human rules. No unnecessary harm. The contest is a test of skill, not life or death." Vera inclined her head. "Very well. Let the test begin." But Yalin had no intention of fighting blindly. He had learned that sometimes the mind won battles before the body ever moved. "Before we begin," he said, "I propose a preliminary test. One of strategy and wits. Strength alone does not always determine the outcome of a fight." Vera's brow furrowed. "Strategy, wits, You are human. You wish to challenge me with mind games before our battle? Yes, Yolan replied. To know your opponent is as important as to face them in combat. A murmur ran through the crowd. The aliens had not expected this. Most of them believed humans were too simple to understand complex strategy. Yet here was a human calmly suggesting a test that would expose the limits of physical strength. Against intelligence? Vera laughed again. Very well, human. If you wish to play games, we shall play. But do not expect me to hold back when the time for real combat comes. The preliminary tests were set in the arena, a large open space with floating platforms and holographic targets. The first challenge was simple on the surface. Reach a series of points in a specific order. But each point required solving a puzzle to proceed. Vera moved first. Her speed was breathtaking. She leaped, twisted, and sprinted with precision. But the puzzles were not simple. They required observation, logic, and memory. Vera grew frustrated as the puzzles slowed her down. Every time she thought she had found the answer, Yolan had already solved it and moved ahead. The crowd watched in astonishment as the human navigated the obstacles with calm focus. Vera's expression hardened. She had never seen an opponent who combined patience with skill in this way. She was used to opponents who relied solely on strength and speed. Here was a human who used his mind first, his body second. By the end of the first round, Yolan had reached the final point before Vera. She landed gracefully next to him, breathing heavily, her eyes wide. Impossible, she whispered. How? How did you do that? Yolan smiled slightly. Strength is not the only way to succeed, he said simply. The next challenge tested reflexes. Floating holographic targets appeared, moving in unpredictable patterns. Vera's alien eyes tracked each one effortlessly, striking them with incredible speed. Yet again, Yolan moved with careful precision, predicting the paths, adjusting his timing, and hitting targets accurately. When the round ended, he had matched Vera almost perfectly, though he had not moved as fast. Vera's pride was wounded. She had never been challenged like this before, and yet she felt a strange admiration growing inside her. She had expected a weak, easy opponent. Instead, she had met a human who did not just react, he thought. He calculated, he anticipated. The final test of the day was a combination of strategy and observation. A simulated combat scenario projected a series of attacks and defenses. The participants had to respond not with brute force, but with careful planning. Vera attacked aggressively, her movements fast and powerful. But Yolan did not counter immediately. He waited, observing her patterns, noting her timing, predicting her next moves. When he acted, it was precise, controlled, and effective not to harm, but to demonstrate control by the end. It was clear Vera had lost, not because she was weak, but because she had underestimated the human, the audience. Composed of aliens and humans alike, erupted in astonished applause. Whispers ran through the crowd. The human. The human outsmarted the champion. Vera stood silently for a moment. Her chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, her pride bruised but her respect growing. She looked at Yolan, and for the first time, she saw him not as a fragile human, but as a worthy opponent. You are not like the others, she said finally, her voice quieter than before. You are remarkable, Yolan nodded. And you are strong. I hope that in our future encounters, we can learn from each other rather than simply fight. Vera hesitated. Then, slowly, she inclined her head, a silent acknowledgement of his words. The fight had not even begun, yet already the human had won something far greater than a contest he had earned respect. As the sun set over Zephyrin, painting the floating cities in gold and crimson, Yolan stood with quiet confidence. The challenges ahead would be difficult, but he knew one truth. Humans had a way of surprising even the strongest of alien champions, and on this day, that truth had been proven. The sun had set over Zephyrin, but the arena's lights glowed brightly, reflecting off the metallic surfaces of the floating platforms. The earlier demonstrations of skill had left the audience buzzing with excitement. Commander Yalan had already shown the aliens that humans were not as weak as they thought. Vera, though prideful, could not ignore the challenge the human presented. Vera paced in the arena. Her amber eyes narrowed. "I will not be outdone by a human," she muttered. She flexed her fingers, feeling the familiar strength that had carried her to victories for years. To her, combat was simple power, speed, skill, but Yalan had shown her that there was more to fighting than raw force. Yalan, on the other hand, stood calmly near the center of the arena. His gaze moved slowly across the platforms, taking in the layout, the holographic devices, the obstacles. Every detail mattered, and he had learned that preparation often outweighed strength. The next stage of the contest began with the arrival of holographic projectors. Streams of light formed moving targets, complex patterns, and shifting mazes. The challenge was clear: navigate the course and solve its puzzles faster than the opponent. The arena became alive with glowing paths, changing shapes, and coded sequences that needed deciphering. Vera smirked. "This will be easy. I am the champion. I will finish first." She lunged forward, moving with incredible speed, leaping across platforms and striking at the glowing targets with precision. Her movements were fluid, elegant, and undeniably powerful. Yet, every time she tried to guess the solution to a puzzle, it slipped from her mind. She relied on instinct, but instinct alone could not conquer logic. Yalan followed, but he did not rush. Step by step, he observed the patterns. He noticed how the platforms shifted slightly before each puzzle appeared, and how the glowing targets moved in predictable arcs if one watched carefully. Patience, he reminded himself, is the greatest weapon of all. As Vera reached a puzzle involving a sequence of glowing symbols, she hesitated. Her first attempt was wrong. Her pride flared, and she tried again, striking the symbols faster this time. Another mistake. She frowned. In her world, speed was everything. And yet, here was a human who had already begun the sequence calmly and correctly. Yalan moved with deliberate care. He memorized the symbols, traced the pattern with his fingers, and pressed the correct sequence without hesitation. The puzzle accepted his answer, and the platform beneath him lit up. He advanced smoothly to the next stage. Vera's frustration grew. She could feel the energy of the arena watching her, judging her. But no matter how fast she moved, Yalan's steady approach kept him ahead. She had underestimated this human. He was small, yes, but his mind worked faster than her muscles. The second challenge combined memory with strategy. Holographic clones appeared, mimicking the movements of the challengers. The goal was to identify the real opponent among the clones and move to a target before the clones could block the path. Vera's amber eyes darted back and forth, trying to predict which clone was the real Yalan. She struck at several, only to find empty air. Yalan, however, analyzed the movements carefully. Each clone repeated a slight, almost invisible pattern. His eyes narrowed. With a single, precise move, he advanced past the clones and reached the target before Vera could. The crowd gasped. Another victory, achieved not with strength but with observation and logic. Vera's chest heaved. She could feel the sting of defeat creeping in, though the contest was not yet over. "Impossible," she muttered. "How can a human keep pace with me?" Yalan did not answer. He simply watched her, knowing that the next challenge would test more than just mind and reflexes. It would test courage and composure. The third stage was the final test for this day, a tactical simulation. Holographic opponents surrounded each challenger, forming a shifting battlefield. The goal was not to attack directly, but to move through the area, avoiding obstacles and neutralizing threats with careful strategy. Brute force would fail. Only those who could think ahead would succeed. Vera's first instinct was to charge forward, striking at anything that moved. She anticipated success through strength and speed. But the holograms reacted unpredictably. She was forced to retreat several times, her pride taking a hit with each misstep. Yalan, by contrast, moved slowly at first, observing the reactions of the holograms. He calculated angles, measured distances, and predicted where each obstacle would appear next. When he moved, it was with precision, each step deliberate and exact. His calm, methodical approach allowed him to navigate the battlefield efficiently. The crowd watched in silence, amazed by the human's composure under pressure. Vera's frustration boiled over. She had expected a quick contest, a clear demonstration of superiority. Instead, she found herself struggling against a being she had believed to be fragile and weak. Jalin paused on a central platform, surveying the battlefield. A holographic trap shifted beneath Vera, and she leaped instinctively, barely avoiding it. He could have used the opportunity to advance further, but he chose instead to continue carefully, showing control rather than reckless aggression. The lesson was clear to Vera. Even if she did not want to admit it, raw power was not always enough. Intelligence, observation, patience, and composure could overcome even the strongest opponent by the end of the stage. Jalin had completed the tactical challenge ahead of Vera. She landed heavily on the platform next to him. Breathing hard, her pride wounded but her respect growing. You think too much, she said, panting. I rely on strength. You rely on your mind, yet somehow your mind is stronger than my strength. Jalin offered a small smile. Strength is important, he said, but it is only one part of the whole. Balance is what matters. The arena erupted with applause. Both humans and aliens were talking at once, amazed by what they had witnessed. Stories of human ingenuity and courage spread quickly among the observers. Many had assumed humans were weak, but here was proof that even a small, seemingly fragile being could outthink the most powerful warriors. Vera stood silently for a moment, her pride bruised but her thoughts racing. She had fought many opponents in her life, but she had never faced one like this. This human had not only survived, he had outsmarted her, without raising his voice or showing anger. She realized that the fight was not just about physical skill. It was about understanding, strategy, and self-control. She looked at Jalin again, her amber eyes reflecting a mix of frustration and admiration. You are different, she said finally. I have underestimated your kind, perhaps Jalin said softly. But I hope you understand that we are not your enemies. We are here to learn from each other, not simply to fight. Vera considered his words. She had come to the contest expecting a simple battle, a clear winner and loser. Instead, she had learned a lesson in humility. Perhaps strength was not only measured in muscles or speed, but in mind, heart, and patience. As the crowd dispersed and the arena lights dimmed, Vera walked beside Jalin, not as an opponent, but as a student of what she had witnessed. She had challenged a human and lost not in the way she had expected, but in the only way that truly mattered. She had lost before the fight began, because she had underestimated the human spirit. Jalin. Evercom watched her with quiet respect. This was only the beginning of their encounter. Future challenges would test them both in new ways, physical, mental, and perhaps even moral. But for now, the human had proven that intellect, courage, and patience could stand against even the strongest warrior. And on Zyphrin, the legend of the human who outsmarted the champion was only beginning. The following morning, Zyphrin's skies were painted in soft shades of pink and gold. The floating cities glimmered under the gentle sunlight, and a faint breeze carried the alien scents of flowering plants that grew in the sky gardens. The arena, where yesterday's challenges had been held, now seemed quieter, almost waiting. Commander Jalin arrived early, as usual, the calm demeanor that had already become his signature. Vera was already there, pacing along the edge of the arena. She had spent the night thinking. The human had outsmarted her in every challenge, navigating puzzles, predicting movements, completing tasks faster than she could. Her pride was wounded, but there was something about the human that fascinated her. He was not strong in the way she expected, yet he had won every test. That alone demanded attention. I will not let this continue, Vera muttered to herself. Her amber eyes flicked to Jalin, who was adjusting the holographic platforms in preparation for the day's new challenge. I will strike first. I will not allow patience to slow me down. But Jalin did not move toward her. He remained calm, watching the platforms, noting their positions. His mind was a quiet engine, analyzing, calculating, preparing. In this contest, he knew that a hasty attack would lead to failure. Patience and observation were his greatest weapons. The challenge for the day was announced by the station commander, a series of dueling scenarios designed to test not just physical ability, but strategic thinking and adaptability. Each participant would face simulated attacks, moving obstacles, and unpredictable patterns. Success would not be determined by strength alone, but by careful observation, timing, and decision-making. Vera flexed her fingers, eager to begin. The first scenario involved moving platforms, some rising, some falling, with glowing holographic barriers appearing at random intervals. The goal was to reach the center platform without being blocked or forced off the edge. Without hesitation, Vera charged. Her movements were fast, precise, and aggressive. She leaped from platform to platform, striking at barriers to push them aside. Her strength was impressive, and at first it seemed as though she would easily reach the center. But the platforms shifted unpredictably, and the barriers moved faster than she expected. Jalen stepped onto the first platform calmly. He moved slowly, observing each shift, each movement of the holographic barriers. Instead of attacking immediately, he waited, letting the platform settle before choosing his path. When he moved, it was deliberate and confident. Avoiding wasted energy and unnecessary risk, Vera glanced back mid-leap. Noticing that Yalin had advanced steadily without panic, a flicker of irritation crossed her face. How can he keep up without rushing? She muttered. Her usual approach speed and force was no longer sufficient. The platforms grew more complex, rising and falling at irregular intervals. Vera tried to predict the timing, but the unpredictability of the challenge frustrated her. She leaped too early, barely catching the edge, her foot slipping. Yalin, in contrast, had already calculated the safest path, moving seamlessly to the next platform. The crowd watched in silence, captivated. This was not just a contest of strength. It was a display of intelligence, composure, and adaptability. Every movement Yalin made seemed effortless, yet it was the result of careful calculation and patience. By the time both reached the central platform, it was clear that Vera had made several unnecessary errors. While Yolan had maintained perfect control, she landed heavily, breathing hard, while he stood upright, calm, and composed. Patience. It's your weapon, Vera said quietly, more to herself than to him. She had never encountered an opponent who could wait, observe, and then act with such precision. In her world, hesitation was a weakness. Here it was strength. The next scenario introduced simulated attacks. Holographic opponents appeared around them, striking with speed and accuracy. Vera's first instinct was to fight. She attacked aggressively, striking down holograms with powerful blows. But the simulations adapted to her patterns. Her attacks became predictable, and she was forced to retreat repeatedly. Yalin, meanwhile, moved with careful observation. He analyzed the hologram's attack patterns, anticipating their movements, and dodged or countered without unnecessary force. His calm approach allowed him to navigate the attacks efficiently, avoiding mistakes that Vera could not. Why? Why does he not strike faster? Vera muttered, frustrated. In her eyes, hesitation was weakness, but she could feel the difference in efficiency. Every move Yalin made saved energy, avoided mistakes, maintained control. The final scenario of the day was the most complex. Platforms, barriers, and holographic attackers combined in a dynamic environment. Success required not only reflexes and strategy, but also the ability to remain calm under pressure. Vera leaped forward immediately, striking barriers and dodging attacks aggressively. Her movements were fast and powerful, but the chaos of the scenario overwhelmed her. One mistake sent her sprawling onto a lower platform, forcing her to recover quickly. Yalin, as always, moved deliberately. He observed the shifting environment, anticipating how platforms would move and how the holograms would react. His calm, controlled movements allowed him to navigate the scenario with minimal errors. Each decision was precise, and he adapted effortlessly to the challenges. By the end, Yulin reached the final target first, standing calmly as the holograms dissolved. Vera arrived moments later, panting and frustrated. The audience erupted in applause, not for victory alone, but for the display of strategy, patience, and composure. Vera sank to one knee, catching her breath. She looked at Yulin with a mixture of respect and frustration. You do not act rashly," she said. "You wait, you observe, and then you act. I have never faced anyone like you." Yulin extended a hand to help her up. "Strength is important," he said quietly, "but only when combined with patience and understanding." Vera hesitated, then accepted his hand. She rose slowly, acknowledging the truth in his words. Pride still burned within her, but she could not deny the lesson she had learned. There was more to victory than raw power. The station commander approached, his expression thoughtful. "This human, he is remarkable," he said. "Not just in strength, but in mind and spirit. Our champions have rarely faced an opponent like him." Vera looked at Yulin. She could feel the quiet confidence radiating from him. The kind of confidence that came not from arrogance, but from knowledge and preparation. She realized that the contest was no longer about defeating him physically, it was about understanding the human spirit. And that understanding was far more challenging than any physical fight she had faced. As the day ended, Vera and Yulin left the arena together. The crowd dispersed, still talking about the unexpected turn of events. For Vera, the lesson was clear. Strength without patience could be defeated by calm intelligence. For Yulin, the day reinforced a simple truth. A clear mind and steady heart could triumph. Where brute force alone could not, they walked side by side. Two warriors from different worlds, each learning from the other. The future would hold more challenges, both mental and physical, but the respect between them had begun to grow. Vera had tried to challenge the human and had lost not through strength, but through underestimating patience and observation. Yulin glanced at her. "Tomorrow will be more difficult," he said. "Are you ready?" Vera's amber eyes met his. For the first time, she smiled, not with arrogance, but with understanding. "I am ready," she said. "Tomorrow, we continue. But this time, I will learn from you, as well as challenge you." The sun dipped below the horizon, and the sky of Zifrin shimmered with colors of twilight. Two warriors, human and alien, walked together, one learning patience, the other teaching it. The contest was far from over, but a bond of respect had already begun to form. On that floating city, amid glowing skies and drifting platforms, the legend of the human who could outthink even the strongest alien warrior continued to grow. And Vera, proud and fierce, knew that the true test was not over yet. The arena of Zifron had never looked more alive. Floating platforms shifted above glowing pools of liquid energy, and holographic barriers flickered in unpredictable patterns. Today's challenge would be the most complex yet a combination of speed, strength, and strategy, designed to push even the best warriors to their limits. Commander Yulin arrived early, its calm expression unshaken by the chaos of the arena. Vera was already there, pacing near the edge, her amber eyes sharp and focused. Last night had been a humbling lesson. The human had outsmarted her, demonstrating patience and precision where she had relied on raw strength. Pride burned in her chest, but so did determination. She would not be outdone again. This time she whispered to herself, "I will not underestimate him." The station commander appeared in a holographic projection above the arena, his voice echoing, "Welcome, challengers. Today's contest combines all previous elements: obstacles, puzzles, tactical simulations, and real-time combat scenarios. Only by combining speed, intelligence, and adaptability can one succeed." Vera clenched her fists. She had trained for this moment her entire life. Every muscle, every reflex, every instinct screamed to charge forward, to strike first, to dominate. Yet deep down, she knew that brute force alone would not be enough against Yulin. Yulin stepped onto the first platform, calm and composed as always. He had spent the night reviewing the arena's simulations in his mind, anticipating challenges and preparing his strategies. His strength was not just physical. It was the result of foresight and careful planning. The first stage began with moving platforms that required precise timing to cross. Holographic barriers rose and fell, shifting in unpredictable patterns. Vera leaped forward immediately, her speed unmatched. She struck at barriers, breaking through with sheer force, and landed on the next platform with a confident smile. Yalin observed quietly. He did not rush. He waited for the platform to stabilize, noted the patterns of the barriers, and advanced deliberately. Each movement was calculated, efficient, and effective. While Vera relied on raw strength, Yalin relied on prediction and precision. The second stage involved a series of complex puzzles projected onto floating panels. Symbols shifted rapidly, forming codes that needed to be deciphered in seconds. Vera's first instinct was to strike the panels in sequence, using speed to guess the correct pattern. But the holograms adapted to her movements, blocking her progress. Yalin, by contrast, analyzed the symbols calmly. He recognized the pattern in seconds and moved through the panels with steady confidence. Once again, his patience allowed him to move ahead while Vera struggled to adapt. Vera's frustration was palpable. She had never faced an opponent who combined intelligence with composure. In her world, strength and speed determined victory. Here, Yalin had shown her a different kind of power, one that could not be matched by muscle alone. The third stage introduced simulated combat scenarios. Holographic opponents attacked from all directions, their movements swift and unpredictable. Vera charged headfirst, striking with force and speed, but the holograms adjusted to her patterns. She was forced to retreat multiple times, each attempt leaving her slightly more exhausted. Jalen moved differently. He watched the attacks, predicted their trajectories, and responded with precise movements. He did not strike randomly. Each action had purpose. He navigated the holographic opponents effortlessly. Demonstrating control and foresight, Vera realized something unsettling. She could not outpace him. She could not overpower him, and she could not predict him. Every move she made, he seemed to anticipate. Her pride burned, but she could not deny the truth. Finally, they reached the last stage, a simulated duel designed to push both challengers to the limit. The arena transformed into a dynamic battlefield, with moving platforms, barriers, and holographic attackers combining in unpredictable ways. Success would require all of their skills: strength, intelligence, reflexes, and patience. Vera acted immediately, launching herself forward with powerful leaps and strikes. Her attacks were precise, her movements fluid, and her determination fierce. She had resolved to win today no matter what. JLN moved differently. He did not rush, he observed, anticipating her movements, and adapted to every action she took. When she lunged, he sidestepped with minimal effort. When she struck, he redirected her momentum without unnecessary force. Each counter was precise, controlled, and effective. The turning point came when Vera attempted a daring attack, a leap meant to overwhelm. Yalin and end the challenge quickly. She moved with speed and strength, fully confident in her ability to dominate. Yalin watched, analyzing every angle and timing. As Vera leaped, he sidestepped smoothly, using her own momentum to redirect her trajectory onto a safe platform. She landed gracefully, unharmed, but the move demonstrated her vulnerability. For the first time, she realized that he had anticipated her perfectly. The audience gasped. Vera had executed a bold and powerful move, yet the human had countered it effortlessly, not by force, but by observation, prediction, and control. The demonstration left no doubt. Victory was not about strength alone. Vera's chest heaved as she regained her balance. She met Jalen's gaze and saw calm confidence there. Not arrogance, not anger. She could feel the truth settling in. She had lost before the fight truly began. Her strength, skill, and speed were formidable, but they could not overcome intelligence, patience, and anticipation. Yalin extended a hand to help her regain her stance. Strength and courage are important, he said quietly, but the mind can anticipate what force cannot. Balance is key. Vera hesitated, then accepted his hand. She rose slowly, absorbing the lesson he had demonstrated so clearly. She had tried to challenge the human with all her power, but she had been outsmarted without harm. without humiliation. It was a new kind of victory, one that required respect and understanding. The crowd erupted in applause, not for a single winner, but for the demonstration of skill, intelligence, and composure. Both human and alien spectators whispered among themselves, amazed by what they had witnessed. Vera stood tall, her pride bruised but her respect growing. She had learned that the true measure of strength was not only in muscles or speed, but in the ability to anticipate, to adapt, and to remain calm under pressure. "You are extraordinary," she admitted softly, her voice carrying across the arena. "I have never met anyone like you." Yolan nodded. "And you are strong. The strength of your heart and determination is remarkable. Together, we can learn from each other, not just compete." For the first time, Vera smiled, not with arrogance, but with understanding. The human had taught her a lesson she would never forget. He had shown that strength alone was not enough, that patience, intelligence, and observation could turn even the boldest attack into a lesson in humility. As the arena lights dimmed, the floating platforms settling into their resting positions, the two warriors walked side by side. They were no longer just challenger and opponent, they were teacher and student, warrior and learner. Respect had formed between them, and the story of the human who anticipated even the strongest alien champion spread quietly among the spectators. Vera's mind was alive with reflection. She had tried to challenge the human, and had lost before the fight began. But she understood now that the loss was not failure, it was in sight. Strength was only one part of victory. Mind, heart, and patience could surpass even the most powerful attack. Yolan looked at her, calm and steady as ever. "Tomorrow," he said, "we face new challenges. Strength and strategy will be tested together. Are you ready?" Vera's amber eyes met his. She nodded slowly. "I am ready. And this time, I will fight not only with strength, but with understanding." As the sun set over Zifron, painting the floating cities in deep purples and soft oranges, the legend of the human who could anticipate the strongest alien warriors continued to grow. And for Vera, the lesson of patience had transformed, her pride into respect, her challenge into admiration, and her fight into a journey of learning. In the heart of the arena, two warriors from different worlds prepared for the final stages of their contest. One had strength and skill beyond imagination, the other had courage, intelligence, and patience beyond expectation. Together they were rewriting what it meant to be a champion. And in the skies of Zifron, the wind carried a simple truth. Sometimes, the battle is won before the first strike is made. The sky above Zifron was alive with the glow of morning light, the floating cities casting long reflections across the pools of liquid energy that shimmered below. The arena was prepared for the final Challenger contest, designed to test everything the challengers had learned: strength, strategy, patience, and courage. Commander Yolan arrived early, as always, calm and composed, his presence radiating quiet confidence. Vera was already there, pacing near the edge of the arena. Her amber eyes were sharp, but there was a new softness in them, a reflection of understanding. The past days had been humbling. The human had outsmarted her, anticipated her moves, and demonstrated a level of patience she had never considered. Yet her pride remained, and today she would give her best not to defeat him outright, but to show that she had learned and grown. This time, she whispered to herself, "I will meet him as an equal." The station commander appeared in a holographic projection above the arena. "Welcome, challengers. Today's contest combines all previous elements: obstacle navigation, puzzles, tactical simulations, and controlled sparring. Victory will not be given to the strongest, nor the fastest, but to the one who demonstrates balance in all areas." Vera clenched her fists, her body ready for the challenge. She had trained her entire life for battles of strength and skill, but she had come to realize that speed and power alone would not guarantee victory. Today, she would combine her experience with the lessons learned from the human. The first stage involved moving platforms suspended above a glowing pool of energy. Holographic barriers appeared at random, testing timing, precision, and adaptability. Vera leapt forward immediately, striking barriers with strength and skill, moving faster than she ever had before. Yet, she took careful note of the shifts and patterns. Remembering the lesson of patience that Yolan had taught her, Jalen moved with his usual calm. He observed the platforms, predicted the barrier's movement, and stepped confidently with precise timing. Where Vera relied on strength, he relied on calculation, but both moved in harmony with the challenge. The crowd watched in awe as both navigated the platforms flawlessly. Neither ahead nor behind, a perfect balance of power and strategy. The second stage tested mental acuity. Complex puzzles projected onto floating panels required decoding sequences and predicting outcomes. Vera approached carefully this time. She remembered how rushing had led to mistakes in previous challenges. Instead of striking quickly, she paused, analyzed, and acted with precision. Yalan, meanwhile, approached the puzzles with steady focus. He observed the symbols, traced the patterns, and solved them efficiently. Each step he took was deliberate, measured, and effective. When both finished the puzzle stage, they were evenly matched. Vera felt a sense of pride not because she had won, but because she had learned and adapted. The third stage was a tactical simulation involving holographic opponents. In previous challenges, Vera had relied on strength, striking aggressively, while Yolan had relied on anticipation. Today, she combined both. She moved with calculated speed, attacking and defending with a balance of power and thought. Jalen, as always, moved with precision and calm. He analyzed her movements, predicting her actions without underestimating her new approach. Each dodge, strike, and block was carefully executed. Maintaining control without unnecessary force, the audience was captivated. The arena had become a dance of strategy and strength, with both challengers moving in perfect synchronization. No one had ever seen a human match the might of a champion alien so seamlessly before. The final stage was announced, a controlled sparring scenario, designed not to harm, but to test reflexes, timing, and composure. Floating platforms moved rapidly, and holographic barriers appeared and disappeared unpredictably. Each challenger would try to land controlled strikes without losing balance or being pushed off the platforms. Vera advanced first. Moving with powerful leaps and precise strikes, she attacked confidently, but this time she tempered her aggression with caution, adjusting her movements to the shifting arena. She was no longer just a warrior relying on strengths. She was a strategist, student of balance. Jalen followed, his calm presence, a contrast to the vibrant energy of the arena. He watched her movements, anticipating her strikes, and responded with precision. Each counter was smooth and controlled, never excessive, never reckless. He demonstrated strength, not just of body, but of mind and spirit. They clashed at the center of the arena, their movements a perfect mix of power and intellect. The strikes were controlled, the dodges precise. Neither sought to harm the other. Both sought mastery, testing skill and learning simultaneously. The crowd watched in silence, caught in the beauty of the duel. Vera made a daring move, attempting to push Yalan off balance with a combination of speed and strength. He sidestepped gracefully, redirecting her momentum with minimal effort. She landed safely, realizing in that moment that he had anticipated her move perfectly. A wave of respect washed over her. She had challenged him with everything she had, yet he had remained calm, composed, and in control. "You truly are remarkable," Vera said, breathing heavily but smiling. "Not just strong, but wise?" Yolan extended his hand to her once again. "And you are courageous," he replied. "Your strength and skill are extraordinary. Together, we have learned from each other." Vera took his hand, and for the first time, she felt a true sense of camaraderie with the human. She had come to the contest expecting to challenge, to compete, to prove her superiority. Instead, she had found a partner in learning, a teacher in patience, and a friend in respect. The arena erupted with applause. Not for victory or defeat, but for the display of balance, strategy, and mutual respect. Humans and aliens alike whispered among themselves, inspired by what they had witnessed. The human had not simply survived against the champion, he had elevated the entire contest. Into a lesson of harmony between strength and wisdom, Vera stood tall, pride tempered with understanding. She had lost in the sense of dominance, but she had gained insight. She had tried to challenge the human and had lost before the fight truly began, not through weakness, but through underestimating the human spirit. The station commander appeared once more in holographic projection. Today we have witnessed something extraordinary. Strength, courage, intelligence, and patience combined in a display unlike any before. Let this be a reminder that true champions are not defined by power alone, but by balance in all things. Vera nodded, her amber eyes meeting Jalen's. "You have taught me much," she said softly. "I came to challenge, but I leave having learned the value of patience, observation, and strategy. You are not just a warrior. You are a master of balance." Elon smiled. "And you have reminded me that strength, courage, and determination are essential. Together, we have shown that humans and aliens can learn from each other, not just compete." The floating platforms shimmered with soft light as the arena emptied, leaving the two warriors standing together. For a moment, they simply looked out at the glowing city, the pools of energy, and the drifting platforms. Both had grown stronger, not just in skill, but in understanding. Vera extended her hand once more, not as an opponent, but as a gesture of respect and friendship. Yalin clasped it firmly, and the two shared a moment of silent acknowledgement. They had begun as challenger and champion, human and alien, but they left as equals, bonded by lessons learned and respect earned. As the sun set over Zifron, the colors of the sky reflected the harmony of the arena. The human and the alien champion had rewritten what it meant to be a warrior. Strength, courage, intelligence, patience, and respect all were needed to truly succeed. And in the skies above, the legend of the human who could anticipate, adapt, and master every challenge spread across Zifron. It was a story not of defeat, but of learning, growth, and unity. Vera turned to Yalin, a small smile on her face. "Perhaps in the future, we will face even greater challenges," she said. "But I know now that we can face them together with strength and understanding." Yalin nodded. "And whatever comes, we will be ready. Not just as competitors, but as allies, learning from each other and growing stronger together."
Oh.
The wind carried their words across the floating city. Mingling with the hum of energy and the soft light of twilight, two warriors from different worlds had met, challenged, and respected each other. One had strength and experience beyond imagination. The other had courage, intelligence, and patience beyond expectation. Together, they had shown that true victory lies not in defeating others, but in learning, understanding, and growing together. And as the lights of Zifron glimmered in the darkening sky, one simple truth shone brighter than any victory. Sometimes, the battle is won before the first strike is made, and the real triumph is respect earned and lessons learned.